the first time you've been signed out, Alex.
No, it said recording in progress.
No, I'm recording us.
It just means that you're being
Okay, 1
recorded.
second.
It's all good. Go ahead.
Melena's recording.
All right, all good. Go ahead.
By the way, small world. Someone here, I think, bought your cousin's apartment in the Majestic. Ashkata. Okay. So with that, okay. So what is going on over here? So now they take this and they bring it to Yerushalayim. Now just imagine the first time, your first computer that you got, and the Torah would say you take that computer and give it away to a Kohen. Imagine the first time your first iPhone, you have to give it to the Kohen. This was the equivalent. They worked so hard to get their first crops, and now they're asked to give it to the Kohanim. And how was this done? What was the process? They would put it in baskets. They would go to Yerushalayim, and people would go with them. It was with tremendous fanfare, singing, dancing, musicians. The whole country was caught up. And by the way, ancient Israel, this is before GPS, there were no road signs. There was no directions how to get to Yerushalayim. Why? Because that would encourage that the whole country should be happy for one another. Okay? So people would ask you, like, where are you guys going? Oh, we're going to Yerushalayim. We're going to Jerusalem with our first fruits. And people would accompany them. Right? In ancient Israel, there were no road signs. There were only road signs that went to the Meklot, to the cities of shelter. Okay. So now what happens? They go to the Kohen. Well, listen very carefully. There's a tremendous life lesson over here. They go to the Kohen, and they make a declaration called the Vidui. The first question is, what is connected to Vidui, a confession, with this time of year? Now we know in a month's time, in Kippur, we're going to have the Vidui, where we confess the things that we shouldn't have done. Okay? So another question that we have, it says, you shall take the first fruits. You shall take the first fruits and bring them to the Kohen. But whenever the Torah says you shall take, really taking always means giving. They're not taking, they're giving. We've discussed this many, many times. Now, whatever a Jew, whatever human being gives, you're not taking, whenever you're not giving, you're taking. What does that mean? Everyone follow. Whenever the Torah says you shall take from me truma, you should take from me charity, it doesn't say give, it says take. Because we have to be very, very clear that whenever we help another person, whenever we get tzedakah, whenever we make a difference in someone else's life, you're not giving, you're taking. We've discussed this many times. The Hebrew word lashon hakodesh for give in Hebrew is notain. Notain is spelled nun, tough nun. It's spelled the same way backwards and forwards. It's called a palindrome, like race car. Because you think, I helped Heshi, I helped Amy, I helped Karen. You're not helping me. You are, but you're not. Because the truth is, you're doing more for yourself than you could even imagine. And people who understand what giving is in life, when we leave this planet Earth in 120 years, okay, they will show us a videotape of all the good that we did. And when someone says, I helped him, I helped her, then you didn't, you helped yourself. And we have this tremendous idea in Torah, mida keneged mida, measure for measure, to the extent that we help someone else is the way Hashem helps us. You had no compassion for that person. Hashem, you're coming to me. You need fun. You need money. You need this. You need health. I'm going to treat you the way you treated my other human being. So again, it says you shall take, but it's not taking, you're giving. This is very, very clear, especially going to this new year, that Hashem is a mirror of our actions. And that's why over and over and over again, it says in the Torah, Ani Hashem, I am God. Because you can make all the rationalizations. You have a bad day, a bad week. We all go through things, I understand. But at the end of the day, Hashem knows exactly what we could have done, we didn't. And that's why I hope we all have people in our lives. These people are constantly giving because they understand, they try to understand what the value of a chesed is, what the value of giving. That people give tzedakah, that we know, you're not giving away, it comes back to you. Okay, that's one understanding why it says take. Next. It says 13 times in this week's Parshat that Hashem, your God. Why 13? Why not 9? Why not 8? So 13 is connected to the Yud Gimel Midos, the 13 principles that we're going to say over and over again of Rosh Yom Kippur. You know, Hashem, El Rachum, Gachanan. That's when we understand them. Okay, but now the big question now. I'll go slow. Why do we have this Jew who's so related? He's worked so hard to get his fields ready. And now he goes to Yerushalayim and he's schlepping in all this negativity from the past, from Lavan. And by the way, that paragraph, you shall about Lavan, we repeat that at the Seder. Lavan was Yaakov Avinu's father-in-law, right? The father-in-law from hell. He was a liar, he was a crook. He did everything he could to thwart Yaakov. And then we're talking about what happened with the Jews with Egypt 40 years earlier. Why is the Torah schlepping this in? Does everyone follow? Here, this Jew is in such a good mood. And now he's making this confession to the Kohen about all this negativity that happened generations earlier, right? Hundreds of years from Lavan, and also what happened. Why? Does everyone follow? Why the juxtaposition? It's such a downer. So hold on. So it says Rabbi Simon Jacobson, the Torah's teaching is a tremendous idea, and I hope we take this into the new year, that if a Jew can't remember negativity at the time of great elation, the Jew can't remember great negativity at the time of great positivity, then you don't really have positivity at the time of great negativity. Everyone follow? Again, why is he confessing all this negativity? What does it have to do with this happy moment? Because the Torah is teaching the Jew a tremendous lesson. And where do we see this articulated? At a wedding, a Jewish wedding. You go to a wedding and you have a Jewish couple, no more J date. Hello, Mr. Winter from New York. Welcome to Boca, the New York area, Florida. We have another New York refugee. Please come. Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you. Brings gifts. Bring gifts. You have to confess to me. Bring gifts. Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. This is not this is AA, but thank you. Okay, so back to the video. Where do we see this? You go to a wedding, you have a Jewish couple, okay, unless they're 20 years old in very religious circles, they've been on Jay's wife, they've gone to every K-State Shabbaton, they've been to every Steve Eisberg, Jody Samuels dinner, every MJE, cocktails on the roof, they've been to every Yehudi event, and finally, it's over. Zehu, they found their soulmate. They're so happy. And what do we say? Stop the clock. 1 second. Stop the clock. I know you guys are so happy about this precious moment. We break the glass. What do? We schlep in what happened 2,000 years ago, the Holocaust that took place in the land of Israel. What is going on here? What is it? Why are we doing this? Because the Torah is teaching the couple at this happiest moment in your life. Stop. It's not always going to be like this because life is life. When you break the glass, there's going to be times in your life you're going to have broken glass. We bring in the negativity of the past. Why? Because the same energy, no matter how things are in our lives. When we go through so much stuff, stop and remember the good that did happen for you. Correct? It's a tremendous, tremendous lesson we learned from this. Okay, again, here the Jews are so ecstatic that they just had their first fruits. They worked so hard, and now we have all this negativity talking about that in Egypt, the Holocaust in Egypt, talking about is again, if a Jew can't remember sadness at time of great happiness, you're not going to have happiness when life is not going your way. And this gives a Jew chizuk, it gives them inspiration. When we go through so many things in our lives, at that moment you think you're going to die. Guess what? If you think back, all the times in your life where things were going so wrong and somehow things worked out. And this is a tremendous, tremendous idea, WBF. So with that, now we go into joy. And by the way, in the Parsha, another place, this is one of the reasons Hashem will tell us, I believe in this Parsha, we were driven from the land of Israel was because the Jewish people were not the simcha. They were not the simcha. They were not happy. That's an unbelievable thing. Not sinas chinam, not because Jews are in law, but one of the reasons we're driven out of our land because Jews aren't happy. So from this, we learn that one of the most important mitzvahs, one of the most connections of the Torah, is that a Jew is obligated to be happy. This is 3,000 years behind half the books in the library about being happiness. That we, the Jewish people, are masters of happiness. You wouldn't know that by American Jewry today. We know it's a Prozac nation. And by the way, it's no accident that 99% of the comedy profession are Jews. Okay, I've said this many times. Robin Williams was not Jewish. He called himself an honorary Jew. And Robin Williams was interviewed on German television, and they asked him, why is it a country of 80, 90 million people, there's not one famous German comedian. You know what his response was? You killed all the funny people. What can you say? Okay, sorry. Is from Sarah Silverman to the Borscht Belt, think about Seinfeld, Jews. Okay, next time you watch a sitcom, look and see who the writers are, from Malcolm in the Middle to The Simpsons. Every Jews, we're 1/4 of 1% of the world's population, but we are masters of comedy. Where did that come from? And by the way, one of the sources in the Torah for Jewish comedy, Rabbi Wein says, is the Jews leave Egypt, they leave a Holocaust on the Nile, and they go, Moshe, there were no graves in Egypt, that we should die? Who wrote that? Okay, well, where does that come from? They say a lot of things to the Jewish people that were cheap. All right, come in, please.
It's too late now.
Hi, welcome. No. Okay, they say many things to the Jewish people, right? They say the Jews are survivors. And the truth is, we're not survivors, we're thrivers. Not only have we survived 2,000 years of hell on earth, but we thrive. Whatever country we went to, we leave, we pick up, and we thrive, right? And we do extremely well. So where does this come from? Simcha. So one of the most important mitzvahs of the Torah is to be happy. Now, those of you who have day school background, and we say, Steve, no offense, I know you're not a rabbi, you always say that, but I've never heard that being happy is one of the most important mitzvahs in the Torah. In fact, we know Rambam, Maimonides, in the codification of Jewish law, it's not mentioned as one of the 613 mitzvahs. So my response to that is, imagine you're going to build a home, you're going to build a house, and you tell the architect, you tell the Admechan, excuse me, but I would like to have a foundation for the house you're building for us. Excuse me. No, it's very important for me to have a foundation for the house. And if I'm building a skyscraper, please put a foundation. The architect will look at you like, what are you talking about? If a Jew is not besimcha, you're not going to be everything you can be in life. If you are plagued with depression, again, I'm not advocating that a person needs meds, but derech hatava need meds. But we, the Jewish people, if anyone should have been on Prozac for the last 2,000 years, the Jewish people, how were we able to do this? Many of you know, I've led 19, 20 birthday trips, and my last trips, maybe 50, 60% were on antidepressants. Okay, how? Again, I'm not judging, but how, where? I really believe if we went back to the Torah, and we're going to have the class now, we would have not got to that place. Okay, so one of the most important myths of the Torah is the simcha. Now, anthropologically speaking, they say that you learn a lot about a country, a nation, by their language. We, the Jewish people, have more words for happiness than any culture in the world. Okay, again, most Israelis don't even know that. Right? English, you're happy. In Russian, there's not even one really good translation of happy. Right? Is it true? We have so many words.
I think there's
Okay, at least one. But for instance, in France, in France, cheese is very, very important for the French, and there's so many different kinds of fromage, different kinds of cheese. We, the Jewish people, have what is that noise, please?
It's the Zoom.
That's a Zoom? Okay, sorry. Okay, we have so many words for happiness because if you're not the simcha in life, you're not going to be the best nurse, doctor, businessman, chef. And if you can't get a bed, then you're losing your life. The Torah gives us tremendous information. Now, I want to say one thing before we have this class is I am not saying that I am the happiest person at all. In fact, no one here knows me, but you would have met me many years ago, right? Some of you are listening, I was one of those people who saw the glass half empty, not half full. And when people say to me, Steve, you're a downer. Okay, if you tell a person who's a downer, you get very upset. No, I'm not a downer. Okay, and now I realize, and I'm working on this, that my homepage is to be the simcha. And guess what? It works. Okay, it works. So for instance, we could tell a lot about a culture, a civilization by their language. So we have a word in Hebrew for happiness called gila, which is a common girl's name. And most Israelis don't know this. The word, the derivation of gila, which means happiness, is gal. Gal in Hebrew is a wave. That's a happiness that comes and goes. And then we have another Hebrew word in Hebrew for happiness, which is rina, another name for a girl in Hebrew name. Rina comes from the Hebrew word banan, which means fresh. That's when you get your first laptop. You're happy for like 1 second. in New York, Miami, you have a new girlfriend, new boyfriend, you're happy for like 5 seconds, and then it's like you're not excited anymore. First time someone gets a first iPhone, I was very excited for like a day or a week, and then take it for granted. Gila, Rena, Sasso. But whenever you go to a wedding, remember some young guys told me this is amazing. Whenever you go to a wedding, whenever you go to a bris, whenever you go to a Jewish affair, we never say we're going to a Sasson or Gila, Arena. What do we say? When you go to a wedding, I'm going to a Simcha. Why is it called a Simcha? Because Simcha, the Hebrew language, derivation is Yamach, which means to wipe away. Real happiness wipes away all the past. When you go to a wedding, it's a Simcha because the couple forget about all the creep and creepesses they went out to get to this couple. You go to a bris, and then the couple, okay, it erases all of the negativity that what that couple had to go through to have the baby. You know, people get married, they have a baby. I had a cousin, the second child was of Down syndrome. Okay, in her neighborhood, everyone had babies. All of a sudden, people realize what a bracha it is, and you don't appreciate it. You don't appreciate the birth of life until it's not so easy. You don't appreciate your parnasah. You don't appreciate your income, all right, when everything's good. And all of a sudden, when you're out of a job for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, you appreciate it. Simcha erases all the negativity of the past. And when Mashiach will come, it's a simcha because it erases all again. So I think I've shared with you in the past, when I went to Alaska, we had a tour of Alaska, and the tour guide, Jody Gavin, explained to us the Eskimos have 70 words or 7 words for snow. Why? Because snow is very important to an Eskimo. The snow that's conducive to building igloo, not. The Jew, Simcha is our homepage. Okay, so again, I'm not claiming I'm the happy person. My homepage is what can I do to get to, and by the way, it's brought down all over, that Simcha brings in bracha. Okay, Gedaliah Fenster talks about it all the time. When a person is depressed, when a person's atzula, tzuba, it blocks, firstly, practically speaking, if you are depressed, you're not going to get the job. No one healthy is going to want to date you. You're your worst enemy. We have 3,000 years from this week's Parsha linking negativity with positivity that they're next to each other. We have to break out. Okay, so now we bring the class called Mastering Joy, which I got from Rabbi Pliskin. I think it's worth, all right. So he says that basically happiness is a choice. I can't control what Hashem, if you believe, don't believe in God, the universe, I can't control what the universe, Hashem sends to me. Now we make choices very often in life, and then we stuff God into the equation. But I can't control what life does. The parents I have or didn't have, my siblings, health situations. But he says there's 3 basic thought patterns that create emotional quality of life. Number 1 is focus. What we focus, by the way, we have much more control with our simcha, with our joy than we thought previously. Again, I can't control what happens to me, but I can control my response to it, says the Torah. Okay, so number 1 is focus, what we focus on. Number 2 is the choice that we make to be b'simcha or not, to be happy or not. And 3 is reframe. What happens when stuff happens? Okay, so there's a book called Proverbs, Mishlei, written by King Solomon, Shlomo Melech. And in the book, it says that a poor person's life is terrible, and a rich person's life is a party. So everyone's going, hell yeah, if you have a lot of money, your life's a party. If you don't have money, it doesn't necessarily mean with money in the bank. Not to share with you, I know some of the richest people in the world, the most miserable people in the world, the way they treat their wife, their children, their employees, the person at Starbucks, and I never understand. They have so much shefa, they have so much bounty, they have more money than 10 generations, but they're miserable people. And I don't get it. And then I have friends in Eretz Yisrael, 3, 4, 5 children. Okay, they have nothing. They don't have food to put on the table. And last night my good friend Joel had a birthday party, so we went to a restaurant. She would be 120 in health and brachas. So we went to, and there's a restaurant called Fuego. I'm not getting competition and messing up on air. But anyway, so they have this tradition that when you have a birthday, they come over with the candle and it's a whole thing. So there's a man at the next table, it's probably 60, 65. It was his birthday. And this guy jumped up on the chair quicker than a 12-year-old. He had such simcha. He had such life. So I jumped in, I witnessed this, I jumped in the dance with him. This is really, that guy had more simcha, more joy. He was full of life. This is the homepage. Okay. So when King Solomon says in Proverbs that a rich person's life, okay, is a party and a poor person's life is miserable, doesn't necessarily, by the way, it says in Kamach in Torah. If you don't have flour, right, you don't have Torah. My mom always says, God bless her, money doesn't buy happiness, but try being happy without money. Okay, right? Doesn't buy happiness. Okay, so here we go. Hebrew language, simcha. So when I was a kid, my grandmother taught us, always to say to me that if you have your health, you have everything. And it was like, you know, when you're 15, 20 years of age. And now, as we get older, we realize what a bracha. So look at this, look at the Hebrew language. And Israelis don't even know this. Everyone, Israelis especially, when it says a rich person's life, okay, is a party, this is the word for wealthy. Sorry, this is the word, what does it say? How do you say wealthy? Okay, so King Solomon says that a rich person's life is a party. This is the word for wealthy. Who is wealthy? Says Rebbe Sinyan, right? Ayin, the first letter is a Nayim. Who is wealthy? You have your eyes to see this beautiful life. How many of us take for granted our eyesight unless God forbid something happens, right? What normal person would take $1 billion from one eye? What person, right? Next letter, Shin, Shinayim, the ability of digesting food, to have food. Who's wealthy? The ability to be able to eat and have food. Who's wealthy? Look at our language. Is Yud, Yadayim, to have your hands, your fingers. And the last letter is Resh, Reglayim, and Rosh. To have your feet, be able to walk. There are people in this neighborhood. I know a couple of billionaires. They don't know their sister from their brother. They don't know where they're at. They have no idea if they're in Bal Harbor, if they're in Bulgaria. They have your head, that clarity, right? So who's a wealthy person? So now King Solomon says that a wealthy person, who's really wealthy? When you have this. And how many of us really takes this for granted? We focus on all the negativity. I have a friend in New Jersey. There was an Amtrak train and there was a collision. And there was 60 or 70 people that got killed about a decade ago. It was a big jock, great baseball player. His family had a house. My mom has a house upstate. And a beam of Amtrak fell down on him. They had to put a big metal plate on top of his head. And he's never been the same. Okay, he got an $8 million or $10 million structured settlement. Do you think he would want that 10 million? Right? What person? Okay, that's why you should be very careful. I want to be rich. Really? Hashem could work this out. There could be, God forbid, an accident. Something could happen. You got a $20 million settlement. Who would want such a thing? So before we entered this room, we didn't realize we're all billionaires. With all the problems and challenges that we have, we're able to see. I have a friend in Florida now. He's struggling. He's losing his sight. Hashem should bless him. All right. We take this for granted. Focus on what we do have. And, right. It's an amazing, amazing thing. So I want to share you with some sort of focus. So years ago, maybe you might have known him. I don't know. But our friend Les Nelkin, so Les Nelkin was a 37-year-old guy, tall, good looking, very successful, wealthy family from Great Neck. And he developed a very, very rare cancer. So we went to Sloan Kettering to visit him. Unfortunately, he passed away. And it was a very hot, it's like a day in Miami. It was a very, very hot, balmy New York City day. So we went to the hospital to visit him. So we asked Les and said, Les, how are you feeling? He says, thank God. And then he turned around and he turned to us and said, how are you doing? So my two friends started fetching. It's so hot, it's miserable, it's balmy, it's disgusting. And Les Nelkin said something that changed my life. He said, I wish I could be outside sweating. I wish I could be out of Sloan Kettering on the streets. So ever since then, when I hear people saying, my God, it's so hot, guess what? I'll be home in 5 minutes. There's air conditioning in my house. There's air conditioning in your car. There's air conditioning everywhere. In New York City, oh my God, it's so cold. Okay, you have a sweater, you have a scarf. You know, a couple of years ago, New York City had a very bad winter. So Anderson Cooper from CNN was asked by this reporter, how are you dealing with the horrendous New York winter? And Anderson Cooper turned and said, It's called winter, right? Chicago, in Cleveland, it's winter. He says it's heated in CNN. I have a scarf, I have a coat, right? In Eretz Israel, when it rains, like, the New York City got a tremendous amount of rain, and all my people were complaining how bad it was raining. Okay, I understand it's challenging, but Baruch Hashem, you tell Californians it rains, they'll say, "Are you kidding? We wish it would rain." Go to Israel in the winter when it rains. You never hear Israelis complain. It's all. And by the way, in the Israeli army, the first thing they teach in the Israeli army, what do they say? The kol barosh. It's all in our head. It's all in our head. The way we look at life. Right? It's a struggle. It's all in our life. So Bless Malcolm passed away. Well, people complain it's too hot, it's too cold. People will say, for instance, I have to pick up my kids from school. Thank God you have children to pick up. I have friends who wish they had children. I have to call my mother back. I have to call my father. Baruch Hashem, you have a mother and a father alive. Even though, God, I love you, Mom, but okay, it's not easy to be a child, correct? Oh my God, I have to go to work. Go tell someone who's been out of work for a while, they wish they had a job. They're killing me at work. Really? I'll take away the job. We can fix that. So be very careful, correct? I have to go to work. I have to pick up my kid. I have to call back thank God you have a mother and father in your life that cares about you. I wish I had $1 million to be with a charity for having friends of mine who don't have a father who cares for them. They haven't spoken to their mother in 5 years, correct? Thank God you take it for granted, right? It's all focused. All right, story. Next. So I share with you, I read many, many birthday trips. And in Israel, I don't feel the heat. I don't feel the heat anywhere anymore. I'm just happy to be alive and healthy. But anyway, I'm in Israel. It's 9 o'clock in the morning in the old city, in Yerushalayim, and it's really hot. This was like 5 years ago. It was a heat wave. It was very, very hot. So we're in the old city on the way to the hotel with my birthday trip. Some of you were on the trip, and there's a Sephardi Israeli man, and he has a stick on his shoulders with 2 pails of sand. Okay, guy's making maybe 15 shekels an hour. So I said to him, Achi, my brother, Mashlamcha, how are you? And the guy says to me, Sababa, Chazdei Hashem, praise be God. So I'm like, okay, I'm hot, walking to the hotel. So the group's saying, Steve, what's he saying? He's saying his life's amazing and it's awesome. So my friends go, really? Why is he saying that? So I asked him, my Hebrew's not good. The Israeli soldiers on the program said, what's going on? So he told me the following story. He said he came from a country called Iraq. So some of you might know Jewish history, that the Jews in Iraq were very, very wealthy. Think about how much money, 70 years, the Jews were there for 2,000 years. Iraqi Jews, by and large, were very wealthy. They had summer homes. They all left in 1950, 300,000 left within a year, maybe 2 years. All right, they left and they literally came to Israel with nothing, with nada, zero. The Russian Jews came to Israel basically nothing because they had nothing in Russia. The Jews came with nothing. The guy says to me that my grandparents came to Eretz Israel with the clothes on their back through the deserts of Jordan or Syria. And who would have believed, listen carefully, that their grandson would be rebuilding the old city? That every day I schlep, he didn't say schlep because he's Sephardi. Every day I'm building another Jewish home in the old city. Hear this? Focus, correct? And again, I'm generalizing, do that, but New York City, most people I knew were miserable. Whatever job they had, we said, this guy had more simcha, he had more happy. It's all the cold in our head. Another story. So some of you know, before I moved here, I used to go on the road maybe 2 months a year, go to college campuses, different programs. So I was a speaker as a layperson, I was a guest speaker at Berkeley, and we're driving over the Golden Gate Bridge. And my friend, the rabbi, had a habit of never going where there was an easy pass. He wanted to go back in the days where there was a human being, to make him feel like a human being. All right, anyway, I think they're all easy passes now, but we get to the turnstile, and says the guy, what's your name? He goes, Peter. So we go, Peter, how are you? He goes, awesome. He goes, I'm awesome. So we're a friend in the car, and he goes, Peter, can I ask you a question? And no one's beeping in New York, they'd be beeping like crazy people. So my friend says to Peter, why is your job awesome? He goes, I have the best job in the world. So really, how's that? He goes, I got Lady Gaga on my iPad, iPhone. I got Golden Gate Bridge. Look what I'm looking at. I have nice people like you. The guy's making $15, $14 an hour. He goes, my friend turns, he's like, 25, is making $480,000 a year. I'm like, what? The guy's like 10 years old. Okay, it's like this big job working for Sun Microsystems. He goes, Steve, I'm making $480,000. I'm like, holy shoot. He goes, I'm miserable because I should be getting $550,000. This guy had more simcha. I mean, it's an exaggerated kind of story, right? It's all focus. Other stories. So I led many birthday trips. Now just imagine you have a bunch of Jews in the world who care so much about the Jewish people that they pay for young people between the ages of 18 and now 32 to go to the land of Israel. You tell African Americans that Oprah Winfrey is paying for them to go back to Africa, or the Kennedy family, okay, are paying their kids to go back to County Cork in Ireland. Okay, think about this. Or you tell a family, the Cuomo Foundation, there's one, Mr. Cuomo, can you put money in, get your whole family to send back Italian Americans to go back to see where Grandma Padalino came from? No, Jewish people pay young people, pay for the trip, it's free, air-conditioned buses, heated in the wintertime, 4-star, 5-star hotel with Wi-Fi, and this is what would go on, all right? So I would see a guy, David, by the way, this is all true. David, how's it going? How's the trip going? Not you, Dave. That was very appreciative, okay? But David, how's it going? I'm kind of bummed out. Why? I was told the shawarma in Israel is amazing. It really sucks. It's so much better in East Village. So mind you, he's the first Jew that has been in the land of Israel in 2,000 years. 2,000 years, he's the first Jew in his family that's touched the land. And what is his focus? Is on the shawarma. I mean, really? So I went to therapy in the Upper West Side. So the therapist told me, right, and I asked him how to deal with this. So you can't say what we're about to say, like, you know, where's your focus? I know the shawarma is so bad. You have to reframe it. So I said, but David, isn't the country amazing? Oh yeah, but isn't the land great? The soldier, he goes, yeah, the focus. Amy, how's it going? What's the matter? You know, Steve, I love having a good cupcake because on Middle Neck Road in Great Neck, there was like this great bakery and they had great cupcakes. I'm like, so that's bumming you around the trip. You're getting a $5,000 free trip. You go tell any of your friends who are Irish, Italian, African American, you're getting a free trip. I felt so bad for her. Her focus is on the cupcake. A cupcake, 2,000 years. She's the first one in her family. Her grandparents survived the Holocaust, and she's upset about a cupcake in Tel Aviv. All right. By the way, they have blueberry muff, whatever. Gary comes over. Steve, I'm really bummed out. The towels are really scratchy in the hotel, and I'm used to like this plush. Poor baby. Okay. And by the way, we're all laughing. We all do that. You could focus on this or focus on that. But Shlomo Kava, Rabbi Citron's great uncle, used to say, you go to a wedding. How was the wedding, Steve? Oh my God, it took me an hour and a half to get to Aventura. How was the wedding? Oh my God, it was an hour to go to Kendall. Oh my God, the band was so loud. The flowers were so. Rabbi Shlomo said, you didn't go to the wedding. Tell me how in love the couple was. Tell me how the grandparents are happy. We're Holocaust survivors to see in this era when 80-something% of American Jews intermarrying last year outside the Orthodox, you go into another Jewish wedding, right? That's the wedding, not the flowers, not the traffic, correct? We all do that. We go to a wedding, another wedding. It's such a simple, such an amazing thing. We have the focus, right? We have the focus. Okay. Now, next, not growing up observant. I never understood the obsession with making brachas, making blessings. So for those of you who know, there's a blessing on an orange. There's a blessing on water. There's a blessing when you smell something. There's a blessing when you see the ocean. There's a blessing, and I get to see it all the time, on lightning. There's a blessing when you see a rainbow. Why? So says Rabbi David Ayer from Yale City, that Torah wants us to be in radical amazement of life. Why do we make blessings? It's not because God needs us to make brachas. He wants us to be in awe of life, how amazing it is, life, to breathe, to have an orange, banana. Those of us who live in South Florida to see the ocean. Imagine, God forbid, having eyes to see the ocean, and not having smell. Torah gives us blessings. Shabbat. What is Shabbat all about? It gives us one day a week of smelling the flowers, just disconnecting. What we do, part of it, all of it, be able to chill and say how amazing life is. Okay. Next, language. How to be happier. The Torah 3,000 years ago, never uses negative language. It's always euphemistic. Okay, this is before all these books in the library. For instance, when it says that it's not good for man to be alone, it doesn't say ra, which is bad. What does it say? Lo tov. Everyone follow? The words Torah is teaching us, and there's many examples. The word for a blind person is called sage nor, someone who's full of light, because even though he can't see, he has other faculties which are very strong, right? When Hashem tells Noah to put the animals on the teva, it doesn't say tameh, it says says what's the pasuk? It says tahora. It's in the euphemistic. So what does that mean? Change your words, you change your life. How was your day? It was horrible, terrible, or what's a different way? Learning from the Torah. How was your day? Not yet great. Not yet great. How was Steve's jokes? Not yet funny. Don't laugh. How was your day? Let's put it this way. Not yet my wife. Not yet Mrs. Eisenberg. How was your day? Not yet getting married tonight, okay? How was your business meeting? Not yet wealthy, okay? How was your job interview? Not yet meaningfully employed, okay? Taking the negativity out. By the way, it's very, very upsetting when you say this to people, especially in New York, okay? If someone asks you, now by the way, okay, I'm generalizing, I do that, but in Israel, when you ask someone, very often they'll say, how are you? Oh, sababa. And I'm talking about religious people. They say sababa, amazing, awesome. We ask New Yorker, Florida, how are you? Whatever. If someone asks you, how are you? I'm amazing. My friend Daniel will say it. How are you? I'm amazing. You have a girlfriend? No. You have a great job? No. Anything going on in your life? No. I'm just happy to blow. And people get very upset by that. If someone says to you the same energy that you say, yeah, I'm okay. You're not okay. You're great. And if you don't feel that, come with me. We'll fly to Sloan Kettering in New York, and you tell people in bed that you're okay. You're amazing. You're alive. You're wealthy. You can pay your bills. And if you can't pay your bills, you're alive. So when people say, how are you? I'm okay. You're not okay. You're amazing. Baruch Hashem. Right? It's an amazing thing. Focus. Okay. Brachas, Shabbos. Next. So again, taking things for granted. And now finally, the granddaddy that will change your life, Kisava, is reframing. So Gedalia Fenster, okay, you always reference him, he's a great teacher of Torah in Florida, he gets iPod. So he says that very often people say, you won't believe what happened to me today. All right? He says, don't say that. Say, you won't believe what happened to me. Because those of us, we believe in Hashem or the universe, everything that happens is coming from Hashem. So when you complain about this or the other thing, what you're saying is it's not exactly what Hashem wants. Now, we make mistakes, but even the mistakes that we make, we couldn't have made those mistakes unless we're supposed to go through that, correct? That changes everything. Imagine one life, parents get divorced, a parent passes, whatever it might be, instead of saying, looking at yourself as a victim, and I think this is where the depression begins, okay? Again, meds, we need meds, is the minute stuff comes our way, instead of saying, what happened to me, what happened for me? We've discussed this many times, the Hebrew language, again, Lashon HaKodesh, there's two words for why in Hebrew, lama and madua. And lama does not mean why. It says in Torah, lama is ma. To what purpose? What did I learn from this experience that I'm going through? And by the way, when the syringe of life is my arm, it hurts like hell. But what good did we get from this? And madua doesn't mean why, it's madea, madas. What is the knowledge behind that? Okay? Because everything that we go through is only for our good. It doesn't mean I like it. It doesn't mean it's easy. Trust me, when you lose a parent at a young age, okay, I could not have say what I said when I was 16, but now looking back, okay, is I realize now that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Okay, so this is what it's about. All right. Okay, so what did we learn tonight? Number one, that we learned the reason why the juxtaposition between this happy moment, the Jew was elated, he was successful, and then he schleps in all this negativity about Egypt, about Lavan, is because when we're very, very ecstatic with life, we have to stop and contemplate all the challenges that we had to get to this point. right? A couple gets married, it just didn't happen. They had to go through stuff. When a person's successful, but all of those challenges were only to get us where we have to be. And that's what we daven, Shem. I can't change your mind, but give me the strength and let me be able to see, the amazing people I have, the community, etc. And what we learned tonight as well is, focus, efforts, and reframing. So what does reframing mean? When things happen in our life, instead of saying, why me? Say, what did I learn from that? You had a relationship that didn't work out. What would I do differently now than that? Something happens in business, you weren't successful. What would I do? A Jew doesn't ask why, we ask what. Because no one's going to answer you. God's not going to answer. But if you ask yourself, what I learned from this, and this is the way of the Jew, and I believe that's why the Jewish people are masters of not only survival, but thriving. Because the Jewish people were in Egypt, right? Hell on earth. 1 minute later, by the way, every morning and every night, we have a mitzvah of saying the Shema. And what does it say in the Shema? It says, remember leaving Egypt. The Torah is teaching us 3,000 years ago, every single Jew, individually, collectively, are going to have their own personal Egypt. Your mother didn't love you, your father didn't love you, your parents got, whatever it might be, the goal, and by the way, it takes a lifetime. It might take a therapist, it might take a rabbi or rebbitzin, might take a Stevie, a good friend helping you, but we all have our Mitzrayim. The goal is to get out of Mitzrayim every morning and every night, because everyone's going to have their Mitzrayim. Lechacha. When Hashem says to Abraham, leave, it says lechacha, move on. My mom always says to me, I don't want to hear about the past, tell me about the future. I don't want to hear about yesterday. Tell me what tomorrow's going to be. So reframing is try to find something. You got stuck in traffic, you can curse and yell and rage, or say, maybe I have time to listen to something on the radio. Maybe I shouldn't have been on that highway. Something bad is going to happen, right? Whatever it takes. But meanwhile, you change the negativity. But we have a lot more that we can do when things come our way. Okay, we have a great choice. Focus on the positive. Now, what happens when you have people in your life who are very negative and you always see the glass half empty? So guess what? Life is very short. Good Shabbos. Doesn't mean I have to fire them as friend, but I don't want it in my life. Family, that's another thing. Or change the topic. I have friends, they always have negativity going. It's always something. Either it's a bad relationship, or the job, or the traffic. People obsess about the I-95. That's why I-95. Then move to Oklahoma. You don't like Southern Florida, go to Oklahoma. That's what it is. I-95. There's traffic. Thank God you have a car, you have air conditioning, you have a radio. Listen to G'day Fenster. All right, friends, every day is the traffic. That's what it is. Today, friends, oh my God, it's so hot outside. So move. Move to Chicago. It's hot there also. You live here. Focus on. It's draining. We only have one life. Focus on the positive. Now, very key. It's brought down in many Hasidic Sfarim that positivity brings in bracha. So I'll tell you a quick story. So I had a friend, Matthew Del Fuente, now lives in San Francisco. Hi, Matthew. So Matthew was from Essex in England, and he came to New York because he wanted to find a Jewish girl. Sparty boy, Del Fuente, and he got a notice from the government to support Trump that he's being deported. Okay, so he was very upset. And I go, Matthew was mad. He goes, I'm being deported back to England. And I really came here to find a Jewish girl. There are no Jewish girls in Chigwell and Essex. So I said, don't be depressed. We believe in Hashem. It could happen. He goes, how? I don't know. And he won this thing. It's a real thing called the lottery, the immigration lottery. The next day, he got a notice. He was able to stay in America. He met his wife. They got married. They have 2 kids. I have another friend, a Persian guy, came to my class. Hi, you know who I'm talking about? And he was very, very concerned about something. I said, don't be depressed. They say in AA, let go, let God. Just throw it out to God. And guess what? The thing that he was worried about turned upside down. Yeshua Hashem Karafan, the blink of an eyelash. It doesn't mean that it's easy, but a Jew, 1 hour a day, as Shlomo said, be depressed. If you're depressed for more than 1 hour a day, you don't believe, you're going to have a baby. You're going to get a job. You can get your immigration. Life can change on a dime. The Jewish people are masters. And by the way, again, the comedy profession is so Jewish because we kvetch and we complain. What's the joke? You go to a Jewish restaurant, the waiter says to you, is anything okay? Right? I mean, go work in the Jewish community, go work in a restaurant, go work for a Jewish caterer. We kvetch and complain, but at the same time, we're the most optimistic people in the world. I have friends of mine, every single day, they send me videos on global warming. Okay, the reason why there's so much seaweed in Miami is because global warming, it's 80%. I said, okay, great, global warming. What am I supposed to do? Okay, I'm not gonna buy aerosol cans. I'll be more cognizant, but trust me, the world's gonna be around much longer. We can. I have other friends, okay, you know politically who I am, and all they do is send me negative articles about Biden and Harris and this. You know something? If I can't do anything about it, I'm not gonna worry about it, right? It robs me. I stopped watching the news, Fox or CNN, because it robs me. I went to New York for a week, and I was staying with relatives, and people were watching television. I thought, sorry, Mom, I was gonna kill myself after a week. Every single commercial, vaccinated, mask. It's like I couldn't take it. It's like, it's like bubonic plague. Like every single commercial was either about wearing masks, getting vaccinated. Okay, oh God, I want to be the Simcha. Okay, so with that, Tavo, read this before Rosh Hashanah. That working on Simcha. That Simcha. Okay, this over here. It's to the audience.
Did you read the verse that explicitly explains why it's important to be happy? Is there a verse like that in this Parshat that explicitly says to be happy?
I'll show you. It says
Okay.
it. Also, we say every day, Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha. Serve God with joy. And by the way, I didn't mention, there was a famous guy by the name of Dr. Norman Cousins. You could Google him. Dr. Norman Cousins. And Dr. Cousins is a professor in UCLA, and he was diagnosed with bad cancer. And they gave him 3, 4, 5 months to live. And he had this crazy idea, supported by the Torah, we can show you, that when a person's happy, it heals a person. He created a machine called an EKG machine, and you could buy one for $35,000, it was $35,000. And the EKG machine showed empirically that when a person laughs, when a person does simcha, you emit something called endorphins. And it's been proven fact that endorphins are very, very positive for a person's healing. 3,000 years ago, the Pasuk says over and over again, you should samachta v'chagecha. You should be happy with your holiday. You should be happy. Simcha, simcha, simcha. So what happened? He healed himself. I have a friend, Saran Rothenberg. You could Google her. The Saran Rothenberg in New York was diagnosed with horrible cancer, and she had this theory. Of course, she's now Baal Tshuva. She went to comedy shows every night. She healed herself. She started an organization called Comedy Cures. And what they do is they have volunteers from all over the world. I think last year, over 2 million people. They have volunteers and go to hospitals, older, younger, people get dressed like clowns, and they cheer up the people, make them laugh. And they've shown empirically that a person with people who visit them, right? People who visit other people they have a better chance of survival than people who don't have visitors, right? The term in Hebrew for visiting the sick is called bikur cholim. Bikur chol means the sick. But bikur, the root words, the Rebbe Yankov says boker, because when you visit the sick, when you call someone up who's hurting, you're bringing boker to them, you're bringing a morning to them, right? I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the hospital to visit friends who are very sick, and if the right person visits them, a person who's in bed like this, all of a sudden they spunk up. How did that happen? Because you bring boker, bikur cholim, is simcha. Right? When you have a good laugh from the gut, not only does it feel good, but you emit endorphins. And the Torah teaches 3,000 years ago, in many places, Ivdu Hashem b'simcha, that a Jew has to be b'simcha. It's a struggle, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I hope we develop more tools, the way we speak, the way we think. The Kol Rosh is focus on the positive. And if you want to be depressed, give yourself 1 hour, right? Today's 11 o'clock in the morning. Don't call me now. This is my hour of depression. So I sit there and I think about all the things in my life which aren't going right. At 12 o'clock, you could call me. All right. Right now, I'm in a negative space. Get rid of it, because if you stay negative, then you're saying, I don't believe Hashem can change my life. And I believe we have 3,000 years empirical proof that no people, we complain, we're tough. but we're the most positive people on planet Earth. And by the way, last year, New York Times, fake news, but this was true, is they had a survey of the happiest countries in the world. Of 192 countries, Israel was number 11 or number 12. If any country should not be Besimcha, it should be Israel with 200 million people who destroy it. The Israelis are happier. How they measure happy. By the way, which ones were the most unhappy? Russia, Belarus, Latvia, Lithuania. Okay, Israel, and then the top ones was Australia, New Zealand, etc., etc. So we learned tonight: focus, reframe our words. And by the way, our words have a tremendous effect on the way that our mood swings are. So when you find yourself saying, "This sucks, this is terrible, it's horrible," not yet great. How is the food in the restaurant? Not yet edible. Okay, how right? Not yet edible. Okay, change your words. So I hope everyone this coming year will have tremendous simcha, tremendous joy. Amen. But when we do have challenges, we'll use some of these tools. So what's going on here? So Wednesday night, we're doing our first program in Fort Lauderdale with Chabad, Los Olas, Rina Perkel is giving a class in astrology, Mazalot. Very, very powerful class. 7 o'clock is happy hour, 8 o'clock is class. It's Fort Lauderdale, this room. Sunday, we're not having a class next Monday. We're not having class next Monday. We're moving it to Sunday night because we're going to have a Tequila Gadola class. A friend of mine works for a company and they're introducing new tequila, mezcal tequila. So they're going to come and do a tasting. Tequila Gadola, not Tequila Gadola. I didn't make a mistake. No, it's not a mistake. Thank you. Tequila Gadola. So it's going to be in a beautiful villa in Surfside. This room, 6:45 starts happy hour. We're going to have a tasting, and then I'm giving a class on Rosh Hashanah. I think it's a great class. That's the Sunday. What else is going on? Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. If people who just don't get synagogue services, we're doing an explanatory class at the Young Israel in Surfside. It's free. There's a beautiful kiddush sponsored by Dr. Shmuel Katz and Evelyn Katz. So you're all welcome. Please tell your friends. Our programs are 20s and 30s. Frank, what's that? The Kabbalah class is Zoom. Sunday, please God will be Zoom. Rosh Hashanah will be Zooming. Shemayim will not be Zooming. Okay. So with that, and we want to thank and acknowledge a good friend who sponsored the class tonight. Elia Tzvi, good friend. Where is he? He sponsored our beautiful sushi tonight. And if anyone would like to sponsor in the future, let me know. Good night, Mom. Love you. Good night, Cousin Leslie. Everyone should have a great Shavua Tov.
What are you doing? What's that? Had a good day too. Very nice. 26. Great class. I was actually on time. That was weird. That was a really great class. So it's good. Yeah, it's like definitely at some point I get on like thinking about scraps, I'll have to like touch that. I can probably somewhere on my phone. I'll try to see that. 305 332 925. Hold on, let me get my thing like it's all set. Start.